The topic of today's class is a very unique day, which is going to be this Friday. And that day is called Pesach Sheini, the second Pesach. What is the backdrop to this day that we're calling a second Pesach? What on earth does it mean that there is a second Pesach? I've never heard of a second Hanukkah, a second Sukkot. What does it mean that there's a second Pesach? And of course, what is the awesome availability of that day and the message of that day for every single one of us? Okay, and we'll touch on a number of points as we go through this, and hopefully it'll all come together to be something that's powerful and meaningful to us here in the year 2020 as we are en route. And let us never forget where we stand, that we are en route between Pesach on our way to Shavuos. We got out of Egypt and we are on our way. And I mean that actually. We are actually on our way as individuals and as a nation on a journey to Sinai to receive the Torah anew. So where does Pesach Sheini fall in that journey, and what does it mean to us? So to begin, let's first see where this comes up in the Torah. What is the story behind Pesach Sheini? And I'm going to read it to you inside. I'm going to just read you the English so that we don't lose ourselves with the Hebrew. These are a few psukim from Parshas Bahaloischa. If you have a stone chumash, you can find it on page 779. It says as follows. Ready? There were men who had been contaminated by a human corpse and could not make the Pesach offering on that day. So there were people who, on the Pesach after they got out of Egypt, Hashem gave one command. I guess this is the backdrop to the backdrop. We had our first Karban Pesach, our Paschal Lamb, our offering that we're all famous, we all know it's very famous, and that was part of the actual Exodus experience that was done in Egypt. Everyone was involved in that. 1 year later, the first year out in the desert, as they come full circle to that time in the calendar again, Hashem gives a command, and it's a one-time command to the entire nation that they should once again bring a Karban Pesach. And in fact, Rashi says that it was a shame that we only kept it that 1 year. Over the 40 years that we wandered in the desert, only the first year did we have such a commandment to bring the Paschal Lamb, the Karban Pesach, as a nation, and different reasons why, either because we were supposed to be in Israel already, and unfortunately we blew that with the spies, so we lost the next 39 years of that mitzvah, and that Rashi says it's therefore a shame to us, and I mean that meaning it's a disgrace to us that we lost that, or they didn't circumcise the children in the desert because it was dangerous. And therefore, if you're uncircumcised, you can't be part of the Karban Pesach. So they couldn't do it for the next 39 years. One or the other, that was the 1 year that they were commanded to do it. And it was on that year that there were some people who were contaminated. They had been in contact with a corpse, which gives spiritual contamination, which did not allow them to then participate in the Karban Pesach of that first year in the desert. And the Gemara says there's a number of reasons why who they were and why they were impure. Perhaps it was those who were carrying the coffin of Yosef's bones. Recall that they took them out of Egypt to bring them to Israel. Or perhaps it were people who came upon a dead body that needed to be buried, and they seized the opportunity to do that mitzvah and they buried it. Some say it was the sons of Aaron who took his two children. If you recall, they died. He took had to deal with the children. Either way, they were impure. So let's go back to the verses and see what happened. So there were these men that were contaminated by a human corpse and could not make the Pesach offering on that day. So they approached Moshe and Aaron on that day. And this is what these men said to him. Listen to these words. We are contaminated through a human corpse. Loma nigora. These are the Hebrew words that need to bore a hole in our heart. Loma nigora. Yes, we were contaminated. We were in contact with a human corpse. We were contaminated. Lama nigora, but why should we be any less than everybody else? Why should we lose out from offering the Korban Pesach just because we missed the time? And so they came to Moshe and Aaron and they said, Lama nigora, why should we be any worse off? Why should we lose out? Please, Moshe, Aaron, is there a way? Is there a way that even though we missed the opportunity, we were not pure, and we could not bring the sacrifice when Hashem said to do it? Is there something we can do? We don't want to lose out. And to that, Moshe said, wait, I will see what Hashem said. And at that moment, Hashem revealed to them the idea that yes, 30 days later, on the 14th of Iyar, the next month, there's a makeup date. There's a do-over. For those who missed the Korban Pesach, they can come and bring it a month later. And that wasn't a one-time offer, but for the rest of history, there would always be the idea that if you were unable on the first Pesach, you can bring it a month later on Pesach Sheini, the second Pesach. This is the story behind the day, which will be on Friday. The Nesiv Shalom tells us, based on a Zohar, what did these people want? What are we saying that Hashem gave the green light for? To bring another sacrifice? There are so many sacrifices. What was bothering them? We need to bring a Korban Pesach. We don't want to be the only one on the block without a Korban Pesach. This is the in thing. What was bothering them? And then Nesiv Shalom says, it had nothing to do with the animal, the lamb. That's not what was bothering them. It wasn't that they felt left out, that all the cool people were bringing this sacrifice, and now we're not cool, we don't have the sacrifice. Of course not. But what was going on was, hopefully we didn't forget already, that Pesach is a wild gift. That what comes down on Pesach spiritually, the spiritual opportunity that Hashem offers, the gateway that Hashem opens up for every Jew is remarkable. It's beyond nature, like the plagues were beyond nature. It's beyond nature. Hashem opens up. He took out these muddy slaves. He brushed them off, put them on his back, and he carried us to somewhere unbelievable. And we know that occurs every single year spiritually. That Pesach is a leaping from the lowest place to the highest place spiritually. From a low slave that believes in deities to all of a sudden a Jew singing at the sea, having prophecy, and being dedicated to Hashem. So these folks, these fellows that were contaminated, what bothered them was the Korban Pesach was a mitzvah, and that mitzvah contained in it this great spiritual nature of Pesach, the great gift that Hashem hands out by the Exodus, and every year when that Exodus reoccurs, when we go free from Mitzrayim. And the Korban Pesach is a crucial part of tapping into that. And they came forward and they said, Moshe, Aaron, help us. We missed our chance to do it then. We were spiritually impure. We were in contact with a dead person. But we still want that great gift which Pesach is. Lama Nigora, is there a way that we don't have to lose it? I know we missed the time. I know we missed it. I know we didn't have the capability to keep it. But is there still another way in? Hear the question. Is there another way to have Pesach when it's not Pesach? That's a radical question. It's a radical question. Could you have Pesach, the great gift of Pesach, when it's not Pesach? And our great books and rabbis tell us that their question was not really just a question about their specific circumstance, but it was a deeper question, spiritually. Every Jew, when they're impure, when they're far away from the temple, when they miss their opportunity, when we miss our opportunity to have Pesach, and if it's not that we missed it because we'll say, well, I was there and I did keep it, but perhaps parts of us still didn't go free with Pesach. There are parts of us that still didn't feel the light. And of course there are. That's these people. That's us who didn't yet get everything we want out of Pesach. And so then the question is there another way though? Did we miss it, or is there another way to have Pesach? And now I'm going to read to you what the Nesiv Shalom says. Now that we understand what they came and what they were asking for, listen to what the Nesiv Shalom says. What Hashem's response was. What we need to understand is a truth constantly in our lives. He says exactly like we said, these fellows, these people, they were missing and they came and they said, is there a way we could tap into Pesach when we don't have Pesach? What if we fell asleep? What if we missed it? Oh, how many of us fall asleep? It happens. We wake up and then we say, did I sleep through it? Did I blow it? I don't even remember Pesach. I don't remember Hashem. I don't remember that motivation I had to grow. Where is it? Is it? Am I out? They came and they said, Moshe, Aaron, are we out? Or is there a way in? And listen to the words that the Nesiv Shalom says. The Avuram, for their sake, Nissan HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem gave as Pesach Sheini, a second Pesach, Shebo Yordim Shuv Kol Ha'oresh Shel Pesach, that on this Friday, Hashem is going to do something astounding. He's going to make Pesach happen again. That Hashem said, for your sake, you missed it. I'm going to open it up again. It's not Pesach. I'm going to make it Pesach. Such a thing. You make it Pesach when it's not Pesach. And he quotes a Zohar. The Zohar says that a voice announces from heaven. There's a voice that's going to announce on Friday, call out to every one of us and to our souls. Whoever missed finding Hashem from Pesach until now, Let them come now. Pesach Sheini is going to open a new gate for another 7 days. There's going to be another Pesach. Hashem is going to defy all logic and all time and make another Pesach for those of us who missed it, or for the parts of us that missed it. And listen to the words he says. And these are words we have to remember our whole life. Ki HaKadosh Baruch Hu, because Hashem. Why is Hashem doing this? You missed it, you missed it. And especially when it refers to every one of us, where it means we slept through it, we were impure, we made bad choices, we were far away from God. So you blew it. We did. But listen to what Hashem says. Ki HaKadosh Baruch Hu, because Hashem, this is the word of the Nesiv Shalom, Pesach Shar Miyuchot, he opens a unique door. Be'es Ne'ilah Shar. At the time when the doors close, Hashem is so good and so kind and cares so much about us and only wants us to pick ourselves up, that when the doors are closing, and they should legitimately, at that time, Hashem's nature and goodness is that he always opens the secret door that's tucked away right when the doors are closing and somebody's going, wait, I missed it. Hashem always opens up another door. Hashem opened the door when the doors should have been closed. Hashem opened another door for those who weren't able to have Pesach yet, to go free from Egypt yet. Because God's will, God's deepest desire and his promise that he made in Navi, in prophets, is leval yidach mimenu nidach. He will leave no person behind. That Hashem has promised, and the goodness of our Hashem, and we need to know this as we look at life, that if there is ever a door that closes, let us know that our God does not close doors. And that if we see a door close, then know beyond a shadow of a doubt that if that door closed, Hashem opened another door for you. HaPoiseach shar be'es ne'ilah shar. Hashem opens doors when the doors are closing. Something we need to remember always. Whenever a door closes, another one opens. Hashem's only desire is that we should come home, that we should grow. Hashem is rooting for us, not just rooting for us. He's working for us, not just working for us. He's turning the world over for us. Turning the world over. Pesach Sheini. You know what the problem is? It's not Pesach. Hashem says, you think I care? There's my children that got locked out. Nobody gets locked out. Nobody gets locked out. I'll open another door. We have to walk through that door. That's our choice, to walk through the door. But let us never think that the doors are closed. HaPoiseach shar. God opens a door, be'es ne'ilas shar, when the doors are locked. When the doors get closed, another one opens. And all of life should be looked that way. We have certain situations in life, we get set in that's going to be my route, and then it gets shut down. What happened? What happened? Well, why is Hashem shutting us out? We must always remember, he is not. When one door closes, another one opens. We just got to look around. Can't stay fixated on that one door. Look for another door. Look for the other route, because Hashem is certainly trying and always trying to open up gateways for us to find him. And that is the only thing he ever does. Never pushes us away, always creating new openings. But there's something very, very powerful about this story that you can't miss. What instigated this radical, I would say miraculous day? And we're going to have it. It's going to be this Friday. When you show up on Friday, know that Hashem blasted this day into time, despite the fact that it doesn't make sense. He said, give them an opening. And Friday will be another Pesach. Many have the custom to eat matzah. Find some matzah, wash, have some matzah, because there's actual light of Pesach on the day. Some people actually do a full Seder that night, Friday night. Well, this year it would be Friday night. Some customs, because there's Pesach happening. Could it be? Yeah. That's Friday. But what created such an opening that defies logic? Chidush Harim tells us something incredible. He says, go back to the story. Nobody ever heard of Pesach Sheini. Hashem gave the first Pesach. He didn't say anything about Pesach Sheini. When did Hashem tell them about Pesach Sheini? When there was a group of people. And this group of people came forward. And they said, we missed it. Spiritually, that represents we missed it. We blew the opportunity. We didn't seize the moment. Then they got up and they said, Moshe Aaron, Loma Nigora. Is there a way? Can we still connect to Hashem? Says the Chidush Harim, it was that thirst, it was that cry, Hashem, I know I blew it, I know I didn't do it, I know I'm not growing the way you asked me to, I know I'm not learning as much, but is there a way that you can pick me up? Is there a way forward still? Could you please help me come forward, help me grow, help me become who I want to be? Says the Chidush Harim that when they expressed that, when they had that desire, that chukka, that pining to be with Hashem, miracles of miracles, Hashem created a day for them. And not just for them, but for the rest of the history of the Jewish people. They created a new opening with what? Yearning. Not justifying what happened. Not explaining, excusing. Just saying, yes, we missed it. Can we have a second chance? Can we have a second chance? Could we have a third chance and a fourth chance? That their chukka, their desire, opened up something new that never existed before. And in fact, the Chidush Harim says something remarkable. Remember that the Jews, I just said, the Jews only had the Korban Pesach once in their entire 40 years in the desert. And Rashi says that that's a little bit of a disgrace to us. It's a disgrace to us that we only had it that once. And the Chidush HaRim says, a disgrace to us? 1 second. Hashem only told us to do it the first year. We couldn't circumcise the kids, or Hashem didn't give us the commandment. What do you want us to do? If Hashem says the first year and we're following his instructions, why is that a disgrace? Why is that shameful to us? And the Chidush HaRim says, because you got to look what happens right after that story. We have these people that we're talking about now who came forward and said, we missed the first opportunity. Is there a way we could still bring the Korban Pesach? And Hashem said, yes, I will create a new opening. A month after Pesach, I will create a new Pesach. Says the Chidush HaRim. Had the Jewish people said that to Hashem, had we turned to Hashem and said, we don't want to keep it only 1 year. We want to keep it the whole 40 years. I know that you said that everyone has to be circumcised and we can't circumcise, but is there another way? It would have made a new way. Such is the power of turning to Hashem and saying, Hashem, pick me up. Hashem, give me another shot. Give me a new path. Brush me off. Wash me clean. Stand me on my feet and show me the way forward. And the Chidush HaRim says this is true for every single one of us. Every one of us has the power to turn to Hashem and say, Hashem, I know that I have missed chances and opportunity. I know that I have failings, but I want to be with you. Could you please make a path for me? Could you make me a new path? And I know that somebody might say, no, you can't go forward. You got this problem, this flaw. You started too late. You're not familiar enough with Torah study. You've got too strong a temptation for this, that, and other thing. No. Could you be more impossible than asking for Pesach when it's not Pesach? Could you be more impossible than that? Could you ask for something crazier than that? Could you ask for something crazier than saying, I know that the halacha is that you have to be circumcised, but Hashem, could you give us another way? And the Chidush HaRim is saying, ask for the impossible. Say, I'm broken, I have flaws, I don't know how to go forward, I'm uninspired. Hashem, I don't even like you, but I wish I liked you. Could you help me find a way to like you? Could you help me find a way to grow? Can you help me to find a way to get my anger in check? Can you help me find a way to get my jealousy out of me? Could you help me to fix my shalom bias, my relationship with the people around me? It's impossible. What do you mean? You're insensitive. You're angry. Nothing's impossible for Hashem. Lomani gora, Hashem, help me. When we call out Hashem, help me, we have no idea what that can do. We have no idea what Hashem will offer. Because Poseach Shar HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the one who opens doors when doors are closed. Remember who we're talking to. You can ask for the world. And if you want it, if you desire it, you can get it. Rabbi Mail sent me a video. Those in Memphis familiar with a young college student, Riley Pope. Riley Pope was here not that long ago, just beginning his journey, contact with Judaism, really knew next to nothing, and I really mean next to nothing, before. And now he's studying in Eish HaTorah in Yerushalayim. And just the other day, he had a bris and a naming. Unbelievable. He had had a medical circumcision before, but this was the halachic one. And Rabbi Meir sent me a video of him speaking at this moment. And he said, he was choking up. He said that back when he was in Memphis, he didn't know nothing from Judaism, nothing. He was searching. He didn't know what he was searching for, but he knew that he was looking for something. He said he used to daven, pray, and that it wasn't nothing to do with Hashem or Judaism. He used to pray all the time. God, show me the way. He said sometimes he would throw Yashka in there. He didn't know what he was doing. He didn't know who or what. He just said, whatever power is out there, show me a way. I'm looking. I don't even know what. Show me where to go. He said he doesn't even know where he heard of birthright from. He doesn't even know how he landed upon it. But somehow, Hashem made it that he bumped into birthright, a trip to Israel. And it caught him and he went. He said he went to Tzfas and he had an experience there and he felt like he really found something. It had nothing to do with Torah study or even necessarily religious observance. He said he came back and he realized he needs to get back to Israel. So how are you going to get back to Israel? Who's going to fly you to Israel? You did birthright already. But he found out that Aish would take him there for a month-long study session at their yeshiva. He said, to be honest, here he's standing in Aish when he's talking. That's where his bris was. That's where he's talking on this video. And he's already been there for several months. And at this point, he's not planning on leaving anytime soon. And he says, though, to be honest, Aish was just a stepping stone to get me to Israel. He wasn't trying to connect in that way. He said, but once again, Hashem knew better than me. And Hashem orchestrated it. And interestingly enough, to give us a little picture of a silver lining, the coronavirus is what shut down the other program he was supposed to go to and what locked him down in Eish HaTorah with his rabbis, where he then fell in love with the Torah life and that type of connection with Hashem. And he's choking up all talking. Is that not a Pesach Sheini story? Now he's Yonah. That's what his name is, Yonah. He said, like Yonah, who was asleep on the boat in the storm. He was asleep in a storm. But Hashem had a fish come grab him and spit him up on dry land. That's what he said he feels like. Hashem came and saved him. Why? He didn't know what on earth he was doing. But Loma Nigora, he came. He didn't even know the address. He didn't even know Hashem. He just said, whoever's in charge, show me the way. Says the Chidush Harim, every one of us should learn from Riley Pope, from Yonah Pope. Every one of us should throw our hands up to Hashem and say, Hashem, show me the way. Show me a path forward. Help me become something greater. And Hashem opens doors that we never thought possible. That's what Pesach Sheini tells us. The doors open, it's up to us to go through them. Hashem opens the doors. We need to push for it. We need to push for growth. We need to push and push again. And maybe we tried to jump on Pesach. And maybe parts of us soared and parts of us fell flat on their face. Maybe all of us did. Maybe our entire self finds itself back in the mud. But you know what? Pesach Sheini. You know what Pesach means? Rashi tells us Pesach is from the word jumping, dilug, to jump. So it occurred to me that there's a message in the name Pesach Sheini. Jump again. You jumped up to try and reach heaven. You jumped up to try and grab Hashem. Amazing. That's what life's about. Like the Kutzker says, that's what life's about. Just jumping to try and reach heaven. But when you land on the ground, and it happens, definitely parts of us, Pesach Sheini, get up and jump again. Jump again. Hashem will open a door. If you want, if we want, Hashem will take us home. You jumped once, jump again. Turn on some music. Jump. Like somebody once asked one of the Rebbes, why do you like dancing so much? He said, when I dance, my feet are this much off the ground. Dance once, dance again. Lift your feet off the ground. Hustle, yustle, move a muscle. Let's get up. Let's push. Let's say, Hashem, Lama Nigora. We want in again. We want Pesach again. Tunnel, a new opening for us. Of course, Hashem is the kindest, the greatest. Hashem doesn't ever give up. Hashem said he won't give up on one of us. Let's not give up on ourselves. How embarrassing would that be if Hashem's not giving up on us and we're going to give up? Don't ever throw in the towel. Keep on going one step at a time, every one of us in our own lives, in our own way. But we have no idea what Hashem's going to open for us. There's always an opening. Now I want to tell you something astounding that struck me. Why? Hashem is so good. Hashem is so kind to us, of course. And He's always giving us that way up. But sometimes we feel like it's closed. Sometimes we feel like we blew it. But let's look at the words of what these great Jews who didn't give up on themselves said. And I think there's a powerful lesson. They came forward and they said, Loma Nigara. Why should we lose out? And everybody asks that they say, why should we lose out? Because we were contaminated at the time of Pesach. There's a 1 second. You can't ask a question if you just told the answer. What do you mean, why should you lose out? Because you were contaminated at the time of Pesach. You lost out because you weren't available. What are they saying, Loma Nigora, why should we lose? To phrase the question differently. If they would have said what I've been saying until now, Hashem, we know why we should lose out, but you're so good, help us. That's not what they said. They said it like inquisitively, why should we lose out? What are they trying to tell us? What's the Torah telling us with that? And I think there's something very, very powerful here. It's a freeing concept, a very freeing, liberating concept. But you have to be humble enough to swallow it. Loma Nigora. Why should we lose out? Oh, because you're not worthy. Who is? Who is? Show me the person who dares to have the audacity to say they are worthy of being with Hashem, that they are worthy of what Hashem is offering, of the Torah, of eternity next to Hashem, of being a partner of God in life. Who's the man who's worthy? Not even Moshe Rabbeinu is worthy. There is no human being on earth that is worthy of what Hashem is offering us. Nobody's worthy. So what is it? It's that Hashem is so kind and so good and so in love with us that even though we're not worthy, He's gifting us this. He's offering us this. He's inviting us into a relationship, not because we're worth it, but because He loves us, because He wants to give us that. And therefore they were saying, Lama nigora, why should we lose out? If you say it's because we're not worthy, nobody's worthy. So I ask you, how is anybody connecting to Hashem? And you're going to answer me, it's by the kindness of God. Then I ask you again, why are we any worse? Once you say that it's the kindness of Hashem, there is no difference who I am. Because the kindness of Hashem, the free gift that Hashem is handing out, can be handed out to Moshe Rabbeinu and can be handed out to Shuki Nissan, the bum, just as easily. It's a gift. It's free. Free is free. So I say, Lama nigora. Why shouldn't I have the opportunity? I blew it. I'm not worthy. There is no worthy. There is just the kindness of Hashem. And I'm ready now to accept that kindness and step into that relationship and step through that door that Hashem opens for me. So indeed, there is no reason I shouldn't. And there's no reason that shouldn't be available to me. And indeed, Hashem said, they are right. Everybody has the right to connect to Hashem. Do you know why? Because it's not an earned right. It's a gifted right. And every one of us has that gift. Every one of us gets that gift because Hashem is that good. So we need to never, ever look in the mirror and say, I'm not worth it. I'm not able to connect. I'm not good enough. None of us are. Nobody is. No human could be worth it. No human could be great enough. But we could be in love enough. But Hashem loves us so much that he gives it anyways. So go out and get the free gift. How could you say you don't deserve it? Don't say no one deserves it. It's not about deserving. It's about Hashem's goodness and what he's offering us. Can you imagine? One speck of dust says to the other speck of dust, I'm sorry, you're not good enough to come into the palace. I'm not good enough. You're a speck of dust. Oh, so you're a bigger speck of dust. We're all specks of dust. If we're allowed in the palace, it's because the king is opening his doors and letting us in. There's no difference. And that's the real truth. There's no difference. In terms of what Hashem is offering us and who Hashem is accepting, there's no difference. We are all an infinite distance from Hashem. It's impossible to reach Hashem. The only reason it's impossible is because Hashem reaches out and makes it possible out of the goodness of his heart. And that goodness applies to every single one of us equally. There is no difference. We all are gifted the opportunity. And this idea of recognizing that we live off the kindness of Hashem, and therefore there's never a day that's not an opportunity, because it's not dependent on you, it's dependent on Hashem, and Hashem is consistent and always there and always available and always opening doors. So if you ever feel down, if you said, I did the worst thing in the world, how could I approach Hashem? The answer is just fine. Approach him now, start now. Hashem's looking for you right now. You feel too small? We're all small. But we have a good God who lifts us up so high. And that applies to all of us. And this is crucial to making our way to Sinai, to getting the Torah. Because Moshe Rabbeinu, the greatest of all men, went up to get the Torah. But you know what Chazal tell us? He tried and he tried. In the end, Hashem had to give it as a gift. What's that telling us? It's telling us this, that even Moshe going up to get the Torah, which Hashem said he was going to give us, still we couldn't earn it. It's a gift. My sweet children, these are gifts. Never feel like you're not entitled. There is no entitlement necessary. It's a gift out of the greatness of love that I have for you. Come get the Torah as a gift. Come start new as a gift. Come do Pesach Sheini, a new Pesach, even if you blew it. It's a gift. Wake up every day. It's a gift. Look for the opportunities of that day. I promise you, I'm opening doors for you. Why? Because it's gifts. Because I love you. Because I am a God that's not going to leave anyone behind. I'm going to miraculously make a bridge between you guys and me, even though the distance is infinite. I'm going to make it happen. But it's a gift. Never question it. Never feel like you have to purchase it. It's free. And in fact, the Chidush Harim says that this storehouse up in heaven of free gifts, matnas chinam, he said it's the greatest storehouse of treasures out of them all. He said, and the only thing you need to get it, if it's free, he says, why don't we all just have it? Infinite bounty. He said, there's one thing you need to get it. You need to realize it's free, that it's undeserved, that it's a gift out of the love that Hashem has for us. When we realize that, that's when we tap into the infinite bounty, the greatest treasure house of all, says the Chidush Harim, which is the free gifts, the matnas chinam, the bounty that Hashem wants to shower on us for no reason at all, other than that he loves us. And this is an essential component to going to get the Torah, because it's an essential component to having a relationship with Hashem. We need to recognize when we enter that relationship that we'll never be worthy, and yet will always be worthy of Hashem's love, because Hashem chooses to love us. We realize that possibilities are infinite. We realize that we could daven. You know, some people, you struggle. They say, I'm davening for this. I don't want to daven for the little thing also. I'm davening that I shouldn't get fired. I don't also want to daven that it shouldn't rain today. And our rabbis point out, no, that's a mistake. That attitude comes from thinking, I'm entitled, I deserve to daven, I could daven for one thing. That's how many points I have with Hashem. Now, I don't want to burden him or use up my points with my little request. No, it's all just Hashem's goodness. Ask to not get fired, ask for $1 million, ask to feel good, and ask that it should be a beautiful day. And ask that the thing you ordered from Amazon shouldn't be delayed. You can ask for it all. Do I deserve it? No, nobody does. But Hashem loves us so much. The gifts are gifts. When we recognize that, we're able to run into Hashem's embrace and gather up all those gifts. And we know that during Sphira, the students of Rabbi Akiva died. 24,000 students died, Nebuch. And we're told it's because they didn't have the proper respect for one another. And of course, these are great, great people. And we will never fathom what that means, that they didn't have respect for each other. And I'm not coming to explain that, but to say a lesson for us. That perhaps Pesach Sheini is in the middle of this. The Loma Nigora, the attitude when we recognize no one's worthy, and therefore we all have infinite possibility, because it's all gifts from Hashem, that component makes a person look at those around them differently. Because when do you not respect the people around you? When you think you're better than. When you think that they don't have and won't have, or aren't and won't be. They're just not as great. They were left behind. They made the wrong choices or had the wrong past. But this attitude fixes that. When you recognize what you have is gifts from Hashem. And therefore you should feel more humble when you recognize you have those gifts. And not only that, but when you look at them, you should realize you think that they don't have the capability of surpassing you. If it's all gifts from Hashem, then when Hashem snaps his finger, they may wake up greater than you. If they come forward and say, Hashem, give me a Pesach Sheini, give me an opening, they may wake up tomorrow greater than you. It's all gifts anyways. It's all free. Nobody deserves it. Everyone's just getting it from Hashem. Who are you to determine the limitations of that person? If you have that attitude, it's because you don't realize how much Hashem loves us and how much Hashem opens doors for us and how much he does it for free. But when we recognize what it really is, then everybody is great. And everybody has equal opportunity. And everybody could become something. And everybody is only surviving off the goodness of Hashem. And therefore, how could you not respect each other? How could we judge or determine in our minds that somebody is inferior? Nobody is. We're all equally benefiting from Hashem's graciousness. And therefore, that changes the way we look at each other. So Pesach Sheini is when Hashem opens a new door. Something radical to have a Pesach when you couldn't have a Pesach. And we can walk through that door, and Hashem is always opening a door anytime in our life. Let's remember that. And let's remember that when we wake up and we say, Hashem, like Riley, give me a way, Hashem will open a path for us that we never thought could possibly be. And let us recognize that we have a right to go down that path, and we have a right to ask Hashem for that. Even though we have no rights, that's our right. Our right is that we realize nobody has a right except that Hashem loves us so much, and therefore he'll never abandon us, and he'll always give us a way to reach out to him and connect with him. And now the final point. And maybe the most important. Pesach Sheini starts the week of the attribute, if you've been following along, of what we call Hod. Of the various characteristics, the interfaces that Hashem has with the world, it begins Hod, something called Hod. And why? What does Pesach Sheini have to do with Hod? Hod, which means glory, thanks. There's a lot of interpretations of how to read the word. But I want to tell you what my grandfather said about Hod and what that means for us. My grandfather said the attribute of Hod is when you take something that you're determined to do. You decide, I'm going to be better. I'm going to be greater. I'm going to improve. You determine and you commit to something, but then there's a second step, which is of the utmost importance, which is called Hod. And you know what that is? It's how to make that a reality in your actual life, with the circumstances of your particular life. Not some giant, I will on behalf of all mankind. What will I do in my life regarding this? How does this play out in real time for me? And therefore, Pesach Sheini starts the week of Hod. Because you know what Pesach Sheini is? Pesach Sheini was when a group of people could have said, yes, there's something called connection to Hashem. That was last month. That was last month by Pesach. I missed it. Hod is, don't tell me what was. Don't tell me some storybook commitment that isn't real life. Tell me what can be now, today. So you're back 5 miles from where you thought you were. So what are you going to do now? How does connecting to Hashem look from where you are? And that's what they said. They said, okay, it was a month ago. But we want to connect with Hashem right now. Moshe, Aaron, is there a way for us to bring a Karban Pesach today? In the way our life looks now, it's not the way we thought it would be. But we're not stuck in our past. We don't say, oh, I would have, I should have, I could have. Hoid is, Pesach Sheini is. The way forward is when we say, I will, I shall, and I can. Now, right now. Where my life is now. Oh, but for 40 years, you never learned. You don't even know the Aleph Beis. Fine. But how do I find Hashem now? So let's start with the Aleph Beis. That's the gate for me. There's always a door open. There's always a path forward. What does that look like in real life? And let me walk through it because Hashem is waiting for me. Hashem is holding that door open for me. Hashem is defying nature to make that doorway for me in real life, no matter what I did to mess that up. So what does this all look like in my real life? And this is the most important idea. That this, when it gets left on Zoom, when our classes get left at shul, when 1 hour we get inspired and then we walk off and we forget the whole thing, that's where we lose so much. Hoid, the next step, Pesach Sheini was, no, I'm not leaving it in my past. What does that mean right now for real life? And the Pasuk says that when they were by Sinai, when they got the Torah, Hashem said, the Pasuk, Lech, Emor lohem, shuvu lochem lo'aholechem. Go tell the Jews, let them go back to their tents. And our great Svarim say, Hashem was saying a message. Don't leave Sinai at Sinai. Don't leave what you saw at the mountain. That's not the point. You saw Hashem, it was astonishing, but that's not what tomorrow is going to look like. Shuv lachem lo'alechem, make sure you bring it back to your tents. Bring it home with you. And that's what every one of us needs to do. That's what Pesach Sheini is all about. Pesach is an environment. It's amazing. It's awesome. But then we're back in life. And maybe now the chametz and the matzah is all mixed up. And maybe parts of us haven't gotten free and we've forgotten all about that inspiration. And there isn't all that fanfare. And the Sinai experience is closing down. It's done. Now comes Pesach Sheini where we say, Hoid. How do we bring this back home? How do we bring this to our tents? How can we connect to Hashem now, the way we are now, with our failings now? Where is the new door forward? And when we have that attitude, when we say Pesach Sheini, how do I jump again? I missed Pesach 100 times. Let me get it on 101. I missed the last 70 years of my life. But now is 70 years and 1 day. How do I get today's Hashem? How do I walk through today's door? And when we search like that, when we look like that, when we yearn like that, we are guaranteed that there will be and there always is a door open by HaKadosh Baruch Hu, God, who is Pesach Shar, Be'ez Ne'ila Shar, who opens the door for us when the doors are closed and they should be closed. And that Hashem will break nature to make that possible. And that Hashem will lift us up. And that we don't have to be deserving as long as we're ready and recognizing that it's Hashem's great gifts that allow us to walk forward. And we want to walk forward. Then there is a guarantee by Hashem, Leval Yidach Mimenu Nidach. He will never leave us behind, and he will always show us a way home. And that will look different for every one of us in real life. And it is those real steps, those true, honest steps that are the real gateways forward. And may we all merit on this Pesach Sheini and going forward for the rest of our lives to yearn for those openings, to have Hashem show us those openings, and to ultimately merit to dance through those openings into the palace and embrace of Hashem, our eternal loving God.